Hey there, Eduardo. So you've written a new set of essays. Great. Let's see what you wrote in this set. Okay, employees, same job, or should they switch? To what extent do you agree or disagree? Let's see what you said. Okay. Whether some employees are loyal to the company they work for or not may depend on culture, personal values, or market conditions. I believe that the main reason that could force you into looking for a change is due to the working environment. This essay will discuss both sides using examples from Spain and Australia to demonstrate points and support arguments. Okay, first of all, everything is great in terms of grammar, but wrong weather. Okay, you wanted W-H-E. Then it asks you very clearly here, to what extent do you agree or disagree? You didn't really tell me, did you? You just said that you'll discuss both sides. So do take an opinion, some opinion, any opinion, and just express it. Even if you think that there's validity to both, that's an opinion, but you do have to say what it is. They've asked you for it, okay? Alrighty, so firstly, professionals that work for the same organization throughout their whole working life, no commas necessary, usually find gratefully the fact that they have gone through all steps of the ladder, gathering useful experience along each position. All right, you don't want the word gratefully here. I don't really know what you mean, but not gratefully. The feeling of belonging to a family is also seen as an advantage. Furthermore, it provides security and confidence. Okay. It's seen as an advantage. So explain to me why. Maybe this is what you meant, that it provides security and confidence. But if that's the case, then furthermore is the wrong word here. So you can see that reading it, I'm confused. Like, in other words, is the problem that these are two separate ideas and you haven't supported this idea? Or is the problem that this idea supports this one, but this is just the wrong cohesive device? So either way, the examiner is going to have to make a decision that either there's a problem with your task achievement or there's a problem with your coherence and cohesion. All right? Just some things to think about. So as an example, in Spain, most people make a living working for the same company their whole career. Okay, therefore, countries with strong family values usually show this kind of tendency. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this. You say here that they gather useful experience along each position. You never actually explain it. So what do you mean? Like, how does that give me useful experience more than if I had switched different jobs throughout my career? Okay, so you absolutely have to support that with some sort of explanation. And here as well, the feeling, this whole section I already talked about, that I don't know if it was the furthermore that was the problem, or if it's the fact that you just have two ideas and you haven't supported each one. But there's definitely something happening here that doesn't make it feel like a really cohesive paragraph, all right? And then here, you say in Spain, people work for the same company. So how does this support any of these ideas? Great. Spain is an example of where people work in the same company. There could be tons of reasons, but as far as support goes, it certainly doesn't support either of these sentences that preceded it, okay? So there's definitely a problem with the progression of ideas here. So even before, when I was saying, well, this could mean that it's a problem with task achievement or coherence and cohesion, but now looking at the paragraph as a whole, I can see that there's definitely something happening with your coherence and cohesion, okay? And then this therefore, it does not link back to your first sentence. So perhaps you could have added something else that really ties everything in together. Maybe another sentence would have fit better here. All right, let's move on though. Secondly, it is not uncommon to find other countries where the opposite occurs. Okay, where the opposite occurs, you can get rid of the right. That is the case of Australia, where families support the independence of children, without the, at a younger age. In these countries, it is usual to see people moving from one job to another quite frequently. There are some advantages associated, such as the experience of a different professional career or mentorship for different managers. Consequently, it could be seen as positive to change your occupation. All right, I think this is one that really could have been developed a little more. You are talking quite a bit about the reasons why. Like, for example, you're telling me about the families here, and in Spain as well, you talked to me about the families. But I don't really know how relevant that is or how much that really supports the ideas you've presented either way. I would have probably left a lot of that out, and maybe focused more on what these actual advantages are. So, for example, you already said that you get a different professional career or different mentor. You get to widen your social circle because you meet more people. So you meet the people from company A, you switch to company B, and then you've widened your circle, knowing both sets of people now. Okay? You experience different company cultures, gain new skill sets, learn new ways of doing things, and so forth and so forth. So those are some of the things you could have developed here. All right, let's move on. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that there are more benefits from moving to another work opportunity at least once in your life. However, staying in the same position may be acceptable provided that there are some conditions met, like good company values and attractive career path. Okay, that's fine. I liked your conclusion. Now let's take a look at this bird flu casualty. Oh, it makes me so happy that you included the bar chart. Thank you so much. It makes my life much easier. Well, maybe not my life, but at least correcting this essay. So let's get right into it. The chart above depicts the total yearly deaths due to bird flu infection. Firstly, it can be observed in the first 4 years between 1990 and 1993, just a slight increase of no more than 10,000 cases. Okay, well, it makes much more sense for you to tell me where these numbers started. So rather than talking to me about the increment by which they increased, it really makes a lot more sense for you to tell me what that initial number was. So why don't we try it a little differently? And then say a slight increase from 125,000 to 135,000, for example. Okay, makes more sense to at least tell me what that initial number is. Besides, the increment happened from 1991 to 1992, being the first and last 2 years steady. All right, a little awkward there. Let's try to fix that as well, shall we? Oops, where'd you go? There you are. Okay. The increment happened. Okay, I don't really know what that means. I mean, what do you okay, so you're saying that this is when it happened. Well, then perhaps you should have changed the whole thing. So you could have said that the figures in 1990 were just above 120, where they remained steady for the first 2 years, following which there was an increase to, I don't really know what the number that is. It's about 130 something, 35,000. Okay, so it's clearer than the way you've said it here about this whole increment happening. I mean, it just, because you're going forward and then you're going back, and it just creates some complication. Next, from 1993 to 1997, there are 4 similar increases of around 10,000 deaths each per year. Therefore, there is an almost linear rise, not raise, rise during this period. Additionally, the total number recorded at the end of 1997 exceeded in more than 50,000 those of, okay, by more than 50,000 those of 1993. Really? Okay, 1997, all right, and 1993, okay. During the last 4 years represented in the graphs, the values remain basically the same with insignificant changes. All right, I like that. That was accurate. Did you tell me where these figures are, though? That would have been really helpful. Okay? I mean, okay, I could probably do some math, but it would have helped anyway. Okay, and let's finish up now. Furthermore, if we compare the number of casualties in the last year with those from the first, it is shown to be close to 60,000. What is the last year with those from the first? Okay, the difference between years 2000 and 1995 is 30,000, meaning that half the increment had already occurred by 1995. You don't mean half the increment, you mean half of the increase, I think. Okay, I don't, okay. All right, so you went into a lot of detail and you certainly did a lot of calculations in this bar chart. What I don't get is an overview, okay? You had something like an overview here, but then you started getting into details. And so once you do that, it ceases to be an overview and it's just a detailed paragraph. So what I would have liked is, firstly is probably not the best thing to use for an overview. Firstly is what we use when we start our details. For an overview, the best thing you can do is really set it off with the universally accepted word overall, or you could use something else like clearly. That would be acceptable. But absolutely set it off, because when you start with this firstly, secondly, thirdly, additionally, it sounds like details. So that's what's missing for me here. And then I would also be careful. Here's the reason why I also suggest that this is not necessarily an overview, is because you start with data, okay? You start with this increase of no more than 10,000 cases. And then again, it also stops being an overview when you do stuff like that. What you want to say instead for an overview is something like, overall, the number of global bird flu casualties increased throughout the period. This increase was steady for a number of years before it leveled off. Okay, that would be an overview. Because even if I don't have any of the data, I at least can get an image in my head of what you're looking at. So that's a little bit about that. Now, of course, paragraphing is not too important in task 1, although this was kind of strange to me, all these like all these one sentence paragraphs. I wouldn't have done that. It's probably a good idea to do a paragraph with your introduction and your overview, and then one detailed paragraph, and then possibly even another detailed paragraph. It's not going to really cost you anything, but still, it's just a better idea. Helps keep your thoughts kind of more in order as well. Alrighty, so go ahead, correct these, send them back to us corrected, add to your error correction list, and write, of course, your new set of essays. All right, I'm looking forward to them, so good luck with your writing assignment.